Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. You guys might be confused about the backdrop. I think I've only ever filmed here specifically once, and yeah, I don't really film in my bedroom because it's my private place. Private place. I just am being followed by the sun in a way that is a little bit stalkerish, and it's still kind of blinding me right now, but I didn't really want to be in my plant room because it's really hot in there and it's a nice day out. I don't really want to be cooped up in that little cave. So we're here and I have kind of a fun one for you today. I don't know if this has ever been done on YouTube before, although I didn't really even search. I was cleaning up some books yesterday and I came across all of my husband's high school yearbooks, and I just remembered, you know, those categories where it's like people vote and it's like, oh, most likely to succeed and most popular and best hair, best dress, blah blah blah. Yeah, I felt like that would be a fun concept to do, but with plants. So I've chosen, I don't even know, maybe 15 categories, and I have chosen the winners. I didn't have people vote, although I think next year that might be fun to get people to actually vote. But yeah, I've chosen the winners. They're all mostly from my collection. There are some that I don't have physical plants of. So yeah, I think that it would be fun to go through these with you guys, and maybe this will set us up for something that we can do every year together, whether it's a collaborative effort or something that I pick the winners of. But anywho, testing the waters, and yeah, let's just get started. I'm starting off strong in the categories. So the first one is teacher's pet, and I had a really hard time with this one. I feel like you guys at home might know who I would have in mind in terms of my collection that I felt were teacher's pet, and I had to do it. The winner of this category is Miss Florida Beauty. Maybe some of you guys are not surprised, but I just had to. She's been such a great plant for me this year. To be honest, when I first got this cutting back in, what was it, 2021, I was like, oh, I give it like a month before it reverts or just dies. But she's been such a champ. So you guys are probably wondering what in the hell is happening. So I recently chopped it for my mom, and I did a whole video on it, and I got it on a pole and into a new setup, and the leaves just drooped so much. Those moss roots did not like being in the choose-upon, so I lost two bottom leaves on it already. And because this is one of my prized possessions, I was not willing to sacrifice any more leaves, so I quickly took it out of that situation and I just got it into water. And the good thing is one of those roots are starting to wake up now, so it's beautiful. I'm just so happy that we have some new roots, and I'm feeling a lot better because we were getting some browning. Like I mentioned, 2 leaves fell off, and you can see this one right here, which is the oldest one, is starting to yellow. So I'm probably gonna lose this one too, but I think the rest of them will be safe, and we've got a new one on the way. But anyway, that is not what this video is about. I just wanted to give you an idea of what was going on in case anyone was like, what in the hell did you do? The reason why I chose this one as a teacher's pet is because I feel like it's always doing something to impress me on a regular basis. I'll be like, oh my gosh, look at this new tortum leaf, it's so beautiful, or like, look how much my monstera has grown, and I'll like appreciate all of these plants that are showing new growth. But when this one gives me a new leaf, it's like, ooh, but look at me, look at this variegation, look at how big I am, look at how beautiful I am. Although I will say that my Glorious was a very close second, and then next was my Tortum. My Tortum is my all-time favorite philodendron ever, but in terms of teacher's pet, I feel like the Tortum doesn't try that hard to impress me, or like make it its favorite. It's just naturally my favorite. But this one is just like, this one is a teacher's pet, and I think you guys know exactly who I'm talking about in class. Like back in high school, it's like they were trying so hard to be like the favorite, and were very vocal and very out there and not quiet at all. And this one screams teacher's pet. So the next category is most mysterious, and when I was going through these, like, you know, I just went on Google and was like looking for like yearbook award things or whatever, like categories. And when I came across most mysterious, I'm like, how can I choose a plant that's mysterious? And then I started thinking of like my Dacaria matigariensis, the little Tim Burton plant that I got for my birthday. Like, that's pretty mysterious. I would say my Sinningia leucotricha is pretty mysterious. I never know what it wants. I don't know what to do with it. I just kind of hope and pray that she does not die. But then I was like, okay, that's it. I feel like it's too obvious. So I have decided that a better winner for this category is the Anthurium clarinervium. Listen, I know she looks crazy. She's like this. Okay, but she's alive, and to me, I feel like a winner. I feel like the best plant parent in the whole world. I feel like I'm better than 2021 me, who could not keep one alive for more than a few months. But look at us, we're here, we're alive. We don't look great. We look a little bit disheveled, but alive nonetheless. She's got a new leaf coming. She looks like a bird. She looks like a bird that's waiting to get fed a worm by its mother. But she's alive. You guys, that's all we can ever hope and pray for in this hobby. Just keep them alive, for goodness sakes. I mean, like, how hard is it, right? This leaf never grew anymore. It's the smallest thing, but look, let its little beginda. It's got a little labia. It's so cute. But listen, when I took this home from Erin, I think it was last year now. I think the video that we filmed when I took this home was back in December, and I know it was freaking cold, so I believe it was in the winter. And a few people saw this in my little cart that I wheeled home from her house that night, and they're like,
"Ooh, a clarinervium, good luck. Like, I give it a week."
Listen, normally roasting comments like that would make me a little hot. But I was like, you're right. I should not have this, you know, and we were making fun of myself, and it was a great time. Sometimes you figure it out and sometimes you don't. Sometimes it takes 10 clarinerviums to finally get it right. I have learned in my process of trial and error that this one just doesn't like to be watered that much. Now, you're probably wondering, well, I don't think anthuriums like to dry out. That's what I would have thought too. But it's the only way that I've kept this alive so far. We do have some crispy edges, which I think are from it being on the plant shelf in comparison to growing in Erin's tent. I think this was growing in Erin's tent, or maybe her Millsbow or something. But it's alive, you guys. Historically, with all of my clarinerviums, I've rotted them. No drainage, soil, pond, perlite, whatever it is, they've always rotted. So my friend Ren, she messaged me on Instagram one day when I was like talking about the clarinervium, and she's like, treat it like a succulent. And I was like, what? But Ren knows anthuriums better than I do, so I took her advice. I treated it like a succulent, and I let it dry out, and then when it got thirsty, I gave it a very, very deep watering, and she seems okay. So I do have a second clarinervium. I know, a second one. Who am I? I don't know if you guys remember, but I got a little teeny tiny seedling from Lauren a while back, and all of the leaves were, I think these are some of the original leaves on the plant, maybe these three, but she's growing a bit. She's going places. She did have thrips. She probably still has thrips. Let's see if I can find one. It's been just like a never-ending battle. It's funny when people ask me, like, why do you have so many pests? Why do you always have pests? You use systemics, you use sprays, you do all this and that, but you still have pests. I wish I could tell you. I really, truly wish I could. I just feel like I live in a thrifty place. I live in a pest-heavy place. I'm always bringing home plants, and, you know, that's just how the cookie crumbles in this house. There are no thrips. Interesting. Anyway, she's cool. We've got two leaves that are like doing the salsa or like doing the tango, but she's getting bigger. This one only fully unfurled maybe a week ago, and she's cute. She's healthy. She's got a little bit of damage from pests, I think spider mites, but like if you look at this leaf, in comparison to this one. Less damage, and much bigger. So I think we're going places, and I think I'm finally getting the hang of it. See, look, it's dry. There's no water in it. And I kind of just like leave it like that for a little bit, and then I add water when I feel like it's leaning a little bit too much, and then she's fine. So that's, to me, that's the trick of keeping clarinerviums alive. Maybe it's not the way to keep them thriving, but if you want to at least know how to keep it alive, I guess that's the best advice I can give you. Next category is most likely to succeed, and there was a good number of plants that I could have chosen from, but if I'm looking back at this year specifically, I had to choose it. Philodendron micans. I'm showing you guys the small one in person right now because it's hot in here, and if I bring the big one over, my armpits are gonna sweat, and I still have another video to film today. So I will just throw in a photo of, or like the most recent photo of my big micans next to me, and I'll sit over here. But this is my smaller one that I got from PlantSim CA back in the summer. And it was much smaller when I got it, and it was doing fine. And then I went to California, I came back, it was infested with spider mites and thrips. And you guys can see some of the damage that it left behind. Why are the leaves so dark? You can't see jack crap. Okay, well, this leaf here, you look at the back, lots and lots of damage on it. All of these little spots here. And yeah, it just got sort of annihilated by thrips and spider mites. So I did the treatment. If you guys want to know how I take care of micans, I did a dedicated video on it, and I will throw up the thumbnail here. You guys can watch. I talk about everything from fertilization, lighting, my preferred growing substrate, how to keep it bushy, how to keep it healthy, talking about pest management, all of that good stuff. I'm not going to talk about it now, but the reason why I have chosen this as most likely to succeed is because we've been through a lot, specifically with my original micans. If my memory serves me correctly, over 2021 and 2022, we dealt with root rot. That's when I had it in soil in the Wally Grow planter. My soil was just way too chunky, and it was drying out so fast. So I would water it when the leaves would just like show me that it's super wilted and just has depleted all of its water, and then I would just flush it with water, and then those roots that have dried up become mushy. So dealt with root rot, got it out of soil, completely started over with like re-rooting, and I got it into pond, which was the best thing I have ever done. Over the last 2 years, it has had maybe like 3 or 4 full thrips outbreaks that really sent me into a spiral and made me panic. And then it got spider mites a few times, and then just this random time I got mealybugs. I had never gotten mealybugs on that plant before, and so when I saw a mealybug, I was like, it was just a matter of time. I feel like this plant is just so prone to pests. I mean, look at it. There's so many places for pests to hide. It's a constant grower, so there's always something for it to live on and to freaking feast on. Despite what has happened to that plant, no matter how many times I have uprooted it, changed the substrate, thrown it in the shower for days and days with no sunlight, spraying it with chemicals and pesticides and systemics, it's just never really skipped a beat. There was a point in time where it looked the saddest, and I'll throw that photo up now, but even at its like worst, it still looks kind of decent. And I just feel like this plant has always had the will to live. It's always been very patient with me in terms of the things that it's gone through, and I've become so much more appreciative of it because of how far we've come. So now, even though it's a huge pain in my ass, I do give it regular showers. I constantly make sure that it's up to date with its pesticide treatments and systemics, just to keep things away. But yeah, most likely to succeed because she's just a strong person on the inside and the outside. Good job, Micans. You earned it. The next category was actually chosen by Alice, and she has called this category Hungry, hungry hippo. So it means like the hungriest plant in my collection, and I think I will give you guys 5 seconds to guess what it is, because I feel like if you've been on this channel, you probably know who it is because I've just talked about this a million bajillion times, and that is my Soderini. I can tell you right now, she would not look like this if it weren't for the power of CalMag. If you guys are not using CalMag, I highly suggest you do it. I feel like CalMag has made me a better plant parent in a lot of ways. Obviously the use of mycorrhizal inoculants has been really helpful, but I feel like for the plants that have the tendency to push out really warped leaves, really mangled leaves, CalMag has very quickly corrected it. And I have a whole video, not a whole video, but I have a video dedicated to talking about like the care of Soderini and like how to size it up out of that weird like preteen phase. It's called the easiest philodendrons in my collection. And even though I categorize this as one of the easier or easiest philodendrons in my collection, it would not be easy if I was not fertilizing this regularly. Because of the history with this plant and being able to witness how much CalMag has helped this plant, I had to give it the title of heavyweight hungry hippo, because oh my gosh, I thought that was a bug on my back, but it's just my necklace. Easily the hungriest plant in my collection. Like my Glorious is much larger than this, my Monstera is much larger than this, but it can easily use 5 times as much fertilizer as all of those plants combined, and it's just insane. Like honestly, the amount of CalMag that I give this thing, I just thought it would like have burned by now. I thought it would have burned by now, especially since it's in no drainage, and you know everyone's talking about all the salt buildup from fertilizer, but I'm telling you guys, she doesn't care. She doesn't freaking care. She's just really hungry. Not to confuse hunger with fertilization. It was a funny play on it, but you know, light is the food for the plants. Fertilizer are nutrients. So anyway, you guys get it, right? She's a hungry girl. In terms of light, she actually does not need a lot of light, and she does better under lower light. But if you're having trouble with your Soderini or your Soderoy, give that some fertilizer, and trust me, she'll do a little dance for you. Next category is best hair, and obviously when you think of best hair, you think of your trailing plants, and I love me some trailing plants. The Mycans obviously would have been a great runner-up, and it definitely made the list almost, but I didn't want to nominate the same plant for multiple categories, so she was out. I have a couple of Ripsalis in my collection that could have easily won this category, but I had to go with my original Ripsalis, which I still don't quite know the name of. Is this a Ripsalis flacosa? What? Did I just make that name up? This one looks a little bit thicker. Oh, no. The flacosa looks a bit thicker than this. Mine are like really skinny. So it's not a Ripsalis flacosa, but I once found the ID for it, and then it just escaped my memory. But I had been calling this a Ripsalis bassifera for way too long on this channel before I realized it actually wasn't a bassifera. But this was one of the first Ripsalis varieties that I added to my collection. This was actually a Lowe's find, to be honest. I had a friend that was at Lowe's, and he found this basket that was maybe like this big, and it was like sort of trailing over, and he was like, "Do you want this?" And I was like, yes please. So that was one of the best impulse purchase decisions I have made, and it's grown so much. I've trimmed this thing more times than I can remember, but I think she's gonna have to move to pond because this is one of my thirstiest plants. I know that it's kind of hard to tell right now, but the little stemmy guys should be way more plump than this. It is so thirsty right now, and I could just chuck this into the wind because it's so light. I really do feel like it would do a lot better in pond, but I've been nervous to transfer it because the roots are so stinking thin. Like I feel like if I even look at it for too long, it's gonna die. The roots are gonna die and fall off. So I've been kind of avoiding it, but I'm watering this thing twice a week minimum, all year round. Doesn't matter if it's spring or if it's winter. She's thirsty and she always wants water. So I just can't keep up with her watering schedule, but she's so lovely. Like, look at her. Imagine her in a little ponytail. She'd look so cute. And you just do the Ariana like hair whip. Even though I had a lot of runner-ups for this one, I just kept, this was my first thought, like immediate thought. I'm like, oh, it's gotta be that one Ripsalis that literally looks like a wig. And you guys are so, I'm making a huge mess here. The next category is Drama Queen, and this one was so easy for me. I just like immediately knew who it was gonna be. But the funny part is I didn't add this to my collection really on purpose. Well, I guess it was on purpose because I made a conscious decision, but it was sort of just a spur of the moment decision, and it's not one that I've had very long. But I don't know if you guys remember, I don't remember which video it would have been, but Alice gave away a bunch of plants. She gave them to my mom, and this was in the box, and my mom didn't want to take it because I think she already has one, and it was just going to be thrown out. So I decided to save it, and I already regret it. Freaking Silverian. Really, any Scindapsus I think should be on this list, but the Silverian has like a special place in my heart for like the worst reasons, but I don't know why. Well, okay, I do know why I kept it. I kept it because Alice has had this plant for so long, and she was a bit hesitant to get rid of it, and I just felt bad for just like throwing it away. So don't spill my coffee. Go to daddy. So I kept it, and I regret it. It's such a freaking drama queen. It's like always thirsty. It doesn't matter like how much water I give it. It's like I don't know what it wants. I never know what it wants. And it is in soil, so it's even more of a biatch. I feel like I had the best luck growing it in pond, or really any Scindapsus have done way better in pond, but all the Scindapsus that I've had in soil have just, they've been the worst. Terrible. She looks like she's dying. I wouldn't doubt if this one had root rot or something. But she's not happy. We've got so many yellowing leaves. All the leaves are curled, and I'm getting close to throwing this one out, honestly. I'm not kidding. And you know, I just have a weird sort of relationship with the Silverian, because if you guys watched my video from when I was still headless on this channel, I did a story time video about how I was almost painted as a scammer. How I got reversed scammed by a scammer, and all of this really was over a Silverian. So every time I see a Silverian or think about the Silverian, I immediately think of this situation, and it just gives me a bad taste in my mouth. So anyway, Drama Queen goes to the Silverian. It is by far the thirstiest plant in my collection, but you know what? If I needed a runner-up for this plant, it would definitely be that, what is that, zebra plant? This guy? Oh my gosh, we had such a love-hate relationship, and I did figure it out. It just constantly liked its roots wet, but I was only keeping it around out of spite, because I felt like if I allowed it to die, then it would win, but if I kept it alive, then I win. But it was just so high maintenance. Like, I honestly feel like it would have done better inside of like a maybe a low temperature greenhouse with high humidity, but I was like, I'm not gonna stick this freaking plant in an exo, like no way. So, you know, we did the tango for a little while until I was like, you know what, if you want to die, just die. You win. Ironic that if you die, you win. But it won, but it's dead, so really, who won? The next category is most likely to cheer you up, and this one was easy. Easy peasy. It is the Syningia leucotricha, because look at it. Look at it closer. Squint your eyes a little bit and just really look at it. It's perfection. I can't remember how many times now that I've been in the plant room and like have dropped like a entire bowl of leca, freshly cleaned leca, onto the floor, onto a dirty floor no less, and have just like almost lost my and like punched a hole through the wall. But then my Syningia sort of like reels me back in. She has like this aura about her, and then I just do a little touchy, just touch it a little bit, and it's just like, it just calms me down. It's like a stress ball, but like an ASMR version of it, and a more dainty, friendly, cutie version. I love this plant way more than I could even describe in words because my vocabulary is not very extensive. But if you guys have been wanting one, I don't really know what you're waiting for. I know it's not like the cheapest plant right now. I mean, it's kind of cheap where I live because the plant prices here locally are just like ridiculous in like a cheap way. But I've seen like small ones go like in purge pages in the States for like, I don't know, $40, $50. Do I like the idea of spending more than $30 on a plant these days? No. But do I think that the Syningia leucotricha is worth it? Absolutely, yes. I have looked at other varieties of the Syningia and none of them quite do it for me like this one does. I think it's because it's got this sort of like frosty, green, wintry Christmas look, whereas the other ones are a little bit darker and it kind of looks like a plant that would be growing like in between the cracks of your driveway. She definitely earned the spot as most likely to cheer you up, because if you have a bad day, you could just... Actually, that didn't feel as good as I thought it would. It would not be a complete yearbook awards ceremony if we didn't have the class clown. And this one, I could have gone a lot of different ways with this one, but I just went the most literal way possible. And for class clown, we have the cactus. Not only is it just a funny plant in general, but the growth pattern of mine specifically is just the silliest, goofiest thing ever. Like, I really thought that the new growth would come from the base and we'd have sort of like a double-headed thing going on. Not that this is not a double-headed, not that way, not like that. But I didn't think that like it would come out like an arm. It's just so silly. It's so silly. It's the funniest thing ever, and it's so skinny and gangly. And not only that, look at its little head. You know what that reminds me of? Wait for it. Got one of my favorite socks here that has a big gaping hole. Yeah, I feel like the resemblance is uncanny. It's a sock puppet. Maybe not this one. This one actually looks like a whole head, but this one looks like a sock puppet. Thumbnail. Class clown. Very literal, just went right for the... And this still has to be one of my favorite cacti in my collection. I would love to have a bushy, but having this sort of weird double guy is... I feel like I can appreciate it a lot more than like a big pot of just peni. I'm hoping that like the new growth that comes from this is a little bit fatter, because not that there's anything wrong with this skinny, but am I gonna be demonetized for saying this much? But anyway, it's just a little skinnier than I would like it. I really liked the girth of this one. It was a good size, it was a good shape, and it looked just like a... But I don't know, this one's giving like... It's giving cucumber. It's giving... What are those really, really long, skinny cucumbers? I usually get it at the store when I make pickled... Okay, we're gonna be done with this one now. So class clown, cactus, easy peasy. Now this next category is a little bit on the let's just pretend, make believe, right? And it's Cutest Couple, and I thought it would be fun to create like a hybrid that does not exist, that I think would make very, very cute babies if they were a couple. So first one is one that I just showed you guys, and this is the philodendron, soderini, soderoy, whatever. crossed with a Dean McDowell. Now, I know that maybe it wouldn't be that different, but I just love the shape of the Dean McDowell. I love the pillowiness of the Dean McDowell. I love the white venation that sinks all the way to the leaf margin. And I love the variegation and the silver of the Soderoy. I'm sort of imagining in a perfect world that it would be just like a Dean, but with Soderoy variegation. I feel like there's a lot of like imaginary hybrids that would be so cool, like a Florida Beauty with a Dean McDowell, like a variegated Dean McDowell. But I don't know, I have an affinity for the heartleaf philodendrons and the really puffy pillowdendrons, and you guys know that the Soderoy, Soderini, Majestic, all of those silvery philodendrons just, they strike a nerve, they strike a chord with me. So if I could have the Dean McDowell, which is one of my favorite philodendrons ever, crossed with this, I would be so happy. Maybe some of you are thinking, why don't you just get a Pasta Silver? Not the same, not exactly the same variegation, and I don't know. I haven't had much luck with the Pasta Silver. It's got a bad taste in my mouth, so not for me. Come here, you wanna say hi? Say hello, everyone. Do you wanna film with me? I could hear you snoring through the wall, mister. Oh, my cuddly boy. Do you want to present the next award? Ooh. Okay, present the next award. The next category is, like Pudge said, most dumpstery. Feast your eyes on my most dumpstery Hoya. Now, if you guys don't know what a dumpstery Hoya is, you guys probably are new here. So a dumpster Hoya is a name that was coined by Alice or Jing. They call it the ancient dumpster Hoyas. It's the Hoyas that look like they have been in a compost or inside of a literal dumpster for ages and ages, hence why it's ancient. It's very old, aged, gross, disgusting, crusty, dusty, mangled, crunchy, just all of the nasty, nasty things you can think of in the best way possible. It's a Hoya that you look at and you're not quite sure if it's dead or alive. And if I was brand new to Hoyas, which I am, but if I was even more brand new to Hoyas, I would look at this and be like, it's dead. First off, that is a dead plant, I'm sorry to tell you, and second, that's the nastiest thing I've ever seen. But now that I am into the dumpster Hoyas, I'm obsessed with it. So you guys might see this very nasty coloration on it, and that is sulfur dust. I've been trying to get rid of flat mites that I have not proven actually exist on my plant, that I'm just convinced it does, and for whatever reason I'm too cheap to buy a microscope. I'll eventually get one, but maybe after the holidays. When I first saw this at Lauren's shop, I was like, I want that. And she's like, I'm not giving it to you because I don't know if it's alive. And I'm like, I think it's alive. She's like, it might be alive. Fast forward, she's like, I think it's alive because it's rooting, but it still looked very dead and dighted, and this one is dead and dighting. But I actually lost 2 leaves on this one when I transitioned it from, I think it was in moss, into Lechuzapon, but she's bouncing back now because look at this brand new leaf, and she's so crusty and she looks like she belongs in a sewer. It's like so delicious. Look at these like mangled nasty edges, like it looks like you just took like a hacksaw and just I love it. It's so sharp. If this pokes you in the eye, good luck. Eyesight gone, done. It's got this little, what are these called, tendrils? I've just been calling them runners. I know that that's not the correct word, but I've been calling them runners because they're running. But I have 1 leaf on the way there, and I've got 2 little leaves on the way here, and I just think it's so funny when the new Hoya leaves come out, they're just like this. It looks exactly like that. The resemblance is uncanny. So yeah, I've got 2 brand new leaves coming. I'm kind of thinking that something might wake up down here, which is great, but also now we're just gonna have a massive bush down here. I would love if we could get more up here, but it's alive. I was at Lauren's shop yesterday with a bunch of friends for just a little soiree, and they were talking about how like the undulata has been a hard plant for them and how they've killed so many. And I really thought that this would be one that I would kill pretty fast, because shortly after I took it home, the bottom leaves started yellowing, and that's because I did a pretty invasive cleaning and repot. I chopped off some of the stem and it suffered quite a bit, but I think most of the damage on here, honestly, are from flat mites. I don't know. But the new leaf is so cute and I'm so excited for these two to come out. I wanted to wait to film this video when these ones had already developed, but I think by the time that they come out, I'll already be in California. So anywho, congratulations to the undulata. You are the most disgusting plant in my collection. The next two categories are the popular clicks, and I wanted to do an aroid click and a Hoya click. So in the aroid click, I only have 2 of the 3 plants that I added to this list, and for the Hoyas I have none of them. And this one I kind of treated a little bit differently in that it wasn't particularly the clicks in my collection that I felt were like the most popular this year. I just felt like these 3 plants in each category were just very trendy plants of this year. So the first one for the aroids, I have chosen, of course, the Philodendron SP Columbia. I feel like this could be the plant of 2022. I feel like a lot of people would agree. This plant has just been spreading like wildfire in the community. I know that Equigenera and like, you know, all these suppliers out in Ecuador have been pumping these out like crazy. Seems like everyone acquired one this year, whether buying locally or importing one. I mean, they're trendy for a reason. I feel like I try to not be influenced too much by like the current trendy plants, but this is one that I just could not resist. It's just so beautiful. There are so many different varieties, like the Philodendron SP Silver, SP Silver Angel, which I think only one person has, and then there are the ones with the really tight venation, and then there's some with venation that's really, you know, far apart and like the leaves are really wide. There are some that have more heart-shaped leaves like this. They're like Pokemon, where you just can collect all of them and have multiples and just see how different they are from each other. And this one, I think, had to be one of the most popular plants this year across the board. So here is member number 1. We're gonna call her Regina George. The next one I feel is the Philodendron Gloriosum, not the Gloriosum verde, but like the Gloriosum white veins, round form, zebra, whatever, radiante, all these crazy, what is that? All these crazy anthuriums that you see with like the different venation. I feel like that has been a very popular plant this year to import and to acquire. I have a few Gloriosums, but most of them are down to stumps now because of spider mites primarily, and I just couldn't deal with those big leaves anymore, having it spread to the other plants. So I probably have like 20 Gloriosum stumps of all different kinds. I don't know what's left. I don't know who's who. I'm just waiting for them to like wake up again. This plant definitely was very popular this year. I know that me and my friends in 2021 and this year have been really into collecting all the different Gloriosums because they're just so satisfying to own. They're so satisfying to look at. They're just beautiful. So we're gonna call her Katie Heron. And then I would say the third one to add to that list is pretty much any luxuriant hybrid. This is a Mag Crystal Lux from Amanda. There are so many hybrids out there now with the Lux, and I think it's just because it's so beautiful and it does have that hybrid vigor. I've killed 2 luxurians now. 2? No, I've killed 1. I've killed 1 Lux, and I found it to be very difficult, not easy to rehab back. It's still a stump. I have it, it's just not doing anything. If this toilet does not be quiet. But I feel like because it's a hybrid, it's just a lot stronger than each of the parent plants, and they've just been so fun to grow. I know that Ecuagenera and I think even Tropicals plants in Ecuador have been hybridizing their own Lux plants. All of my Lux hybrids are from Amanda and from Lauren. Lauren has been hybridizing her Luxes like crazy. So I had to add this because I feel like, I don't know where the popularity came from. I only own it because Amanda, you know, she sent it to me and we bought a mystery box from her. But these have just been like in demand like crazy. I would say for like the tail end of 2022, it wasn't super popular in the beginning of this year from what I was seeing. But yeah, definitely starting in the summer up until now, it's like all over the place. I'm seeing it all over BST groups, Facebook groups, Instagram, my explore page, they're all over the place. Yeah, this is our Gretchen Wieners. And yeah, those are the 3 aeroids that I feel like belong in this little Mean Girls clique that were very popular this year. And now we're gonna move into the Hoyas. This list comes from Jing, and obviously like I'm not a part of any Hoya groups. I don't really follow any Hoya specific Instagram pages. I just kind of get whatever pops up and I just like it. So I asked Jing, I was like, what are the 3 most popular Hoyas in your opinion that sort of, you know, was floating around this year? And she said that the silvery Hoyas were very popular, which I agree with because even I have been way more into the silvery Hoyas than I've ever been before. The first one, the Regina George of this group is the Hoya coriacea silver. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Coriacea sounds more right. So Hoya coriacea silver. This one I would say is on the top of my silvery Hoya wish list. I saw an Instagram post. It was a sale post for a very silvery one and it was so expensive. And I was like, well, I'm never gonna own that Hoya. Very pretty. I have the green one. I love the green one very much, but the silver one is just a notch. Oh man, it's just beautiful. So there's Regina George. I'm gonna say the Katie Heron will be the Hoya Silver Dollar. I don't think I knew what this plant looked like until Jing gave me her 3 names, and very pretty. I can understand why it is as popular as it is. And then the last one, the Gretchen Wieners, is the Hoya Nova Ghost. I did know what this one looked like before. I had seen it on friends' Instagram pages. I've seen it on the Explore page. I've seen a few, very few on Facebook. But it's not one that I like would fall to my knees for, but I would gladly accept it if it was at a price that didn't make my ovaries shrivel. But it's cute, but I still think that the Coriacea Silver is like the top of this, which is why she's the Regina George. So Gretchen Wieners, Nova Ghost, very beautiful. All of these silvery plants are probably way out of my budget, but I thought I would do sort of an honorable mention for my Hoya people that are on this channel. So yeah, those are the 2 clicks. And we're gonna move into our next category, and that is the Slowpoke. I wouldn't say that this is the slowest growing in my collection. I feel like my cacti or one of my Hoyas could easily be the top of this list, but I wanted to pick something that was a little bit unsuspecting, and I'm gonna have to move my beautiful little pillows to the side. Slowpoke goes to, drum roll please. I had to move back for this one, but here is my Big Mama Monstera Deliciosa. There are more leaves up here. You just cannot see them. Okay, you're still not going to be able to see them. But I'll throw in a photo quickly so that you can see what the whole plant looks like. I'm still not exactly sure what form of Monstera this is. Once upon a time, I was very convinced this was a Brazilian common form, just based on how far these pinnations like run to the midrib. Like, look at this leaf. That just does not look like a normal Monstera leaf. And the leaves, you guys, are so thick. It's like a super thick plastic feel to it. It feels way different than any other monstera that I've owned before, and I've owned many monsteras. And not only that, it is so hard to root and it's so slow to grow. I think if you guys have owned monsteras, you guys know probably that they're pretty fast at growing. Like, they can become really, really big specimens in a short amount of time, given the right conditions, given a pole, whatever. This guy here, this is like a 1 or 2 leaves a year, if that, plant. I have cuttings from this plant, and when I tell you guys it was one of the most difficult things to root ever, I wasn't joking. It's almost like it has the characteristics of a Thai in terms of how easily the roots rot, how hard it can be to root, and I just had such a difficult time. The reason that I started doing the parfait method was because of my monstera that I was trying to root, which I still have. It's still alive and kicking, but again, 1 leaf. Like, I think I've grown like 2 leaves since I've owned it. So very slow growing, super duper thick leaves. Like, it's hard to describe sort of like how thick they are. They're like really hard to like bend. But some of these newer leaves on the plant just give regular monstera to me. So I'm convinced that this is just a really pretty monstera with really great genetics. I don't actually think it's a Brazilian common form. I would still love to own a Brazilian common form if I could, but still a little bit out of my budget. But yeah, this is such a slowpoke. She just does not like pushing out new growth. She's healthy. I have literally only lost 1 leaf on this plant before, and I've had it for 2 years now, and to not have lost really any leaves since owning it is pretty dang good. It's growing really well. It's just award-winningly slow. The third to last one is most athletic, and in my mind I was thinking like, okay, who is the most robust grower, who is just always pumping out new growth? But I feel like it's kind of cheating if it's like the trailing guys, because those ones are always pushing out new growth. I of course didn't want to award, again, like I said, the same plant to a different category, so that would eliminate my Florida Beauty, which is a very robust grower. My Tortum is a robust grower. I would say even my Glorious is a robust grower, but I had to give this one to my Hoya Callistophila. Only because if we're talking about a major glow up from last year to this year, this one, it's gotta be up there because, oh, you guys are so far. I'll throw up a photo of what it looked like in the beginning of 2022. I mean, it was a good size. I started with a very good size cuttings. The leaves are ginormous, but the glow up this year has just been incredible. I feel like it was asleep for a really long time and just was completely dormant, and then one day it just decided to wake up and really show my collection who's boss. So I thought that we were done growing leaves because it has grown 10 new leaves all at the same time. It's in this tiny little vessel, doesn't care. But I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can see 7 new leaves coming out. I thought we were done. I was like, oh, this is probably gonna be like done for the rest of this year, the rest of next year. It's probably gonna fall asleep again, but she's not done, you guys. She's really not. These leaves, these new leaves, are so dark and dumpstery and delicious. I actually think that they're cuter than the original ones, which are like lighter in color, but that is because I forgot what I did, but I think I changed the lighting situation and I put it really, really close to a light, and then it sort of like bleached the leaves a little bit because they were darker before. They were like this. But I feel like I have figured out what this plant likes, and she's just wild. She's an athletic girl. Like, if I was not already obsessed with this plant, now that I have quadruple the amount of leaves, it's so cute. I just want to stuff it into my mouth. Second to last category is Heartbreaker. This one was pretty easy for me too. So that is my Thaumatophyllum Xanadu. And this one I would say is a heartbreaker for multiple reasons. One being that in my experience, it has been very, very prone to thrips specifically. I feel like no matter how much I'm treating this, no matter how isolated I keep it, it just really likes to have pests. When it has pests, actually when it has pests and when it doesn't have pests, it's a very, very EFN heavy plant, and it burns through these leaves like a son of a, and you just have leaves that are all spotty dotty like this. And I was able to keep the EFN away for a good amount of time when I had this, when it was much smaller, and that required weekly showers with soap and warm water, and I was pretty good about doing it until I went on a trip. I went on 2 trips actually, and it just was kind of downhill from there. It was like I missed 1 week of showering and the EFN just like took over, and I can see it. It's all over this plant. Yeah, I just feel like this one won to me as Heartbreaker because it starts pushing out leaves that you feel are starting to mature, and then when it unfurls, it kind of turns into nothing, and then you have a leaf that's so beautiful and perfect, and then the next day it's got little spots all over it and the EFN is back, and it just always finds a way to like either piss me off or disappoint me. So I really don't know how much longer I'm gonna keep this plant. I'm just being honest with you guys because the thrips have been kind of bad on it, and I have this one away from my entire collection for that reason. But seeing all of these spots on these leaves are just not, they're just not doing it for me. And I feel like for the amount of work that I've put into caring for this plant, it's just been very little payoff, and I was really, really invested in trying to size these leaves up because the mature Xanadu leaves are actually really pretty. They're beautiful, and I would have loved to have a big Xanadu, but just being realistic with my schedule, being realistic in how much like effort and energy I'm willing to exert on my plant collection on a weekly basis, I just don't think that it's worth it. I feel like there are a lot more plants in my collection that would benefit from the time that I put in, and I don't know. Sometimes I feel, I'm just being honest, sometimes I feel the sort of pressure to keep some of these plants alive because I feature them in favorites videos, and I tell you guys like, you know, I really want to see this one size up and I'm going to do anything that I can to try and get there. But the reality of it is that like for as many plants as I have with the current schedule and responsibility load that I have, it's just not feasible for me to like be so gung-ho about caring for every single plant and doing exactly what I say that I want to do. And I'm getting better at picking my battles, and I'm just at a point where I'm so over the heartbreak with this plant, and I don't know. So anyway, yeah, biggest Heartbreaker. It always finds a way to make me sad. The last one on our list is one that I honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I made sure I had this category just so that I could show this plant, and that is our MVP, most valuable player, the Tortum. Come on, look at it, look at her. She's so pretty, she's so beautiful. She's definitely maturing. She's got that little extra oomph, you know, that little extra, what is this, hand on that top leaf. This one's a little bit more pronounced. Look at her. Whereas like on the older leaves, it's just like a leaf, right? Like this. Doesn't have that little extra arm, but we're getting bigger. Woohoo! She's just such a great plant, and I don't know where I would be in my life without her, honestly. It's just everything about this plant makes me so happy. She's just such an easy guy. She's naturally talented, naturally beautiful, just so athletic, so popular. Like I feel like she's like all of the categories that we talked about all in one, which is why she earned the title of MVP. Because look at her. How could you not love this plant? I am so happy that I really don't like to I hate the word influencer, honestly, it makes me cringe, but there have been so many people who said that they bought a totem because of this channel, and I don't like to call myself an influencer, but if I have influenced you to do anything in this life, I hope that it's to buy a totem, because I feel like everyone deserves the happiness that a totem brings. Everyone deserves to have a plant like a totem. She's just amazing. So anyway, she has asked me to stop flirting with her and she's starting to feel uncomfortable. So yeah, I had to end it with a bang. Honestly, this thing, I still can't believe how much she's grown from a tiny little cutting. I am very proud of myself, I'm not gonna lie. I am proud that we are at this size without a pole or without anything. But I think 2023 is going to be the year that we grow her outside of a greenhouse, because for one, she's getting too big. Her wingspan is starting to take over the entire like top surface area of the greenhouse, and I just think it's time. And you know what, my mom's is getting quite large. I think her biggest leaf is like this big now too, and she's just growing hers on the dining table, and yeah, it's working out great for her. So it's given me a little bit more hope that she doesn't have to be in a greenhouse. Shout out to the person that left a comment on my recent video that was like,
like anyone who needs to grow a philodendron in a greenhouse should just own fake plants.
first off, mind your own business. Second off, ew, don't talk to me. So anyway, yeah, that is my list. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. That was really fun. It was very long. I didn't think it was gonna be that long. I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you guys for everyone who has sort of stuck around all year and have seen these plants go through it with me. It's definitely been a wild year, but a good one nonetheless. So thank you guys for watching another video. If you liked it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up because it helps us a lot on YouTube. I love you guys so much. Thank you for making this year on YouTube just a freaking mind-blowing one that I could have never ever even dreamt of in my wildest dreams. It has been insane. So thank you so much. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.